Grace to you and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. My name is Dr. John Diamond. This is the show America Unhinged, which is fervently patriotic and unapologetically Christian. You can find me at americaunhingedradio.com. We are broadcasting live every morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the Brighteon.tv platform. I would ask you that if you do have a smart TV, please consider going to your Roku channel and searching for Brighteon TV, and then saving that as a favorite, and then you can watch everything right live from your TV every day. And then Brighteon TV also has archives in case you miss one of our programs. So when we come back, we're gonna give our scripture verse. We're gonna look at the hosts that are gonna be coming on today, and then I got two good guests today. Two real good guests. We're gonna be talking about technology more than anything today. So join us after this break.
This is an amazing company that has sponsored both of us. And this is a way to have backup communications when the grid goes down.
Well, the situation became problematic, Mike, with the New Orleans, the latest hurricane, because people panicked. And this is one thing that I've learned from being associated with the satellite phone store for over a decade. People will call and order 600 phones at a time.
What?
It's like this, Mike. Anytime there is a crisis, people want these. And ladies and gentlemen, they've created such a good deal for Mike's viewers, my viewers, our combined viewers, that this is the only way you're going to be able to communicate.
And that's the other beauty about these phones, is they can't track you because it's not talking to a cell tower. It's talking to satellites, orbiting over the equator. So SAT123.com, folks.
Patriots and Patriot businesses, would you like to advertise on Brighteon TV? Contact us at Brighteon TV Advertising at protonmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
IGF. What is IGF? It's the substance that's naturally found in your body. It does things like strengthen your immune system. It promotes lean muscle gain, healthy weight loss, restful sleep, energy, clearer thinking, all of the things that make men again, right? But the older we get, the less our body naturally produces the IGF that's there. Go to keystolife.shop right now and do the research on IGF. The IGF-1 spray that they have there is exclusive to keystolife.shop. Now, this is something that you spray in your mouth 3 times a day. It actually tastes really good too. And this is going to boost the IGF levels in your body. So go to keys2life.shop. You're going to get buy one, get one if you put the product on auto ship. You can cancel anytime that you want to, but I would recommend that you try this product for at least 3 months. I'm on my 3rd month and just now seeing tremendous gains. All right. So go to keys2life.shop. Again, keys2life.shop. Check out the benefits of IGF-1. What does it have to do with deer antler velvet? Go to keys2life.shop. Make sure that you mention Stu Peters when you go to keys2life.shop.
Join our newest channel on Roku. Go to channel search and enter Brighteon. Brighteon TV on Roku.
Welcome back to America Unhinged. My name is Dr. John Diamond. We want to start off today just by reminding you that we are live on the Brighteon.tv platform, and we have a number of great hosts that will be on your TV today. So let's just review the lineup of what we have. Following me will be Jeffrey Prather. He has a very good show called The Prather Point. Many of you are familiar with him. And then we run a best of Brighteon. Some of our normal daily contributors are Jeff and Shady with The Matrix Groove, Alan Keyes with Let's Talk America, Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, and Clay Clark, the Thrive Time shows. Those are your daily programs. And then our weekly segments. Today we have Dave Racer, who's America's teacher of civics, His Glory. And I interviewed David Scarlett recently. Man, great interview. And then my real good friends, the Resistance Chicks. These women are just awesome, true mama bears. And then 2 of our daily repeats is Stu Peters' show, and then Ann Vandersteel with the Steel Truth. So I would ask you to kind of tune in. A lot of people are saying that once they tune in during the day, they can't turn it off, because every one of these hosts and the guests that they have are giving you information that you certainly will not get most other places. the great thing about Brighteon TV, there's a lot of people saying these things. This brings it all together, and that's one thing that I really love about the Brighteon network that we're working with here. So I'm going to start off with the daily scripture reading. And this is something that I kind of incorporate in my daily devotional, even long before I start my show every day. The two most important questions that you personally as an individual will ever ask God. So let's look at Acts chapter 9, verses 5 and 6. And if you know the story, this is Saul, who was persecuting the church, and this was his conversion, was on the road to Damascus. But he asked two very important questions, and I don't want to focus so much on Christ's response to these as much as the questions. But it says this, and he said to you, who are you, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against the goads. And then verse 6, he says this, so he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what do you want me to do? So these are the most two important questions that any of us will ever ask of God. Who are you? And then what would you have me do? Each and every one of us first has to have that intimate daily relationship. That is critical. That is an essential part of any Christian's walk. The second thing is once you've developed that relationship, once you begin to hear from the Lord and you start to recognize his voice, which is a discipleship thing. It's not easy. It takes time. The more time, the easier it becomes. But then the second thing that you have to cry out is, what would you have me do? Each and every one of us has been given gifts and time and talent and money and all kinds of things. And he has created you for a specific reason. Your job, your responsibility is to find what that reason is. Not everybody's called to be in a ministry or in a pastorate. Some people are called to be doctors, called to be teachers, called to be any number of things. Well, the two guests that I'm going to have on today, their calling is really to help others like me. Me, Scott Lively, Coach Dave Daubermeyer, we could not do much of what we do if we didn't have these kind of Aaron and hers kind of lifting up our hands and helping us every day. So my first guest is actually my webmaster. He has been instrumental in a lot of what it is we're trying to do to build our platform and our outreach here. His name is Jared Heath. He is the owner of alphatech.com. And Jared, I'd like to welcome you to the program this morning.
Good morning, sir.
Not bad.
I'd like to follow up just real quick. There's two more aspects of Christianity that I think are really important, and that's repentance and hell is real.
Exactly.
Right?
and that would bookend the two things that I just said. You got to repent, and then who are you? What would you have me do? Because ultimately you're going to stand before him and give an account for what you did, and where you go is going to have a lot of bearing on how you lived your life. So I appreciate you bringing up those two bookends.
Right? That's just, it's on my mind a lot. Like we're going to die sooner than we think. So we better try and live as God wants us to by doing what you had said. So.
Right. And if you look at any of the parables on the parable of the talents and all of this, I talk to people all the time about this. It's like, you're not saved by your works, but you're going to be judged based on your works. I don't know why we've kind of lost that disconnect. You can go to the parable of the talents, and you can go to any of those parables that Jesus taught, and any account of judgment day is, what did you do? What did you do with the gifts and time and talents that you were given? And then look at the response, the parable of the faithful steward and the faithful of the wicked and lazy one. It's pretty cut and dry, but I think much of our theology is kind of messed up in that regard.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and so to get into that, right, the talents. The talents, right? So my talent is technology, digital technology, and I run a digital technology business, and I have for the past 6 years, and I've been doing computers since I was 7 years old, deleting INI files and making my family mad. And so that's what I do. That's my talent right now.
And that's great. And that's where we have to understand the idea of the body of Christ. Just where do I fit in? What is me and Mike Spalding all the time, stay in your lane. What am I called to do, not try to do? Because I tried to do this. I tried to create my own website. I tried to do all this other stuff that you do and failed miserably. And that's when I realized, man, I need somebody that knows what they're doing to help me out with this. And that's when Coach introduced me to you. One of the great things I think on one of our initial phone calls, it was the initial phone call, was the importance of owning your own data. And that's what I really, I'm glad I found you before I started much of what I did, because Coach Dave had a YouTube channel and thousands of videos, and then boom, they deleted him and he lost everything. So if we don't own our own data and we're kind of dependent on somebody else, we find ourselves in a little bit of a trouble. So talk about owning your own data a little bit here.
Yeah, and to complete the story with Coach Dave, I mean, he didn't lose his audience because we had been owning his data, and he had been working directly with me, his data guy, for 3-4 years. Right. So people knew exactly where to go to find out where to get Coach after his YouTube channel deleted. If anything, it helped his audience grow, at least become more committed. And that's a success case. We've had another customer where they didn't do this, and it's hurt their audience. They didn't prepare well enough. And so when you do own your data, the point is that you can move it wherever it needs to go. So even if I go away, right? If you own your data, if you actually have access to your data in some way on a hard drive, in a downloadable format, you can package a web application into a box, and you can get that box to run anywhere, on any computer, in a basement, anywhere. That's my long-term goal, is to try and build a system that makes that easier for you to own your own data. It's really complicated, so we're not quite there, because the other side of it is it needs to be fast. I get complaints all the time. Why does the video spin? Why is the video spinning on this thing? Or why is this their issue? And it's like, well, live video is really tough, and videos are really big, and the internet spans the planet. So, and we're not Google. We don't have $8 billion to say, keep videos from spinning, from loading and buffering. But we're trying, and the internet community COVID actually was a great thing for this, the idea of owning your data, right? Because now there's so many people building open source code and open source programs and open source applications. So applications built in a democratic, I'll say a democratic way, to achieve stability. It's really cool what's going on online. GitHub, you can find a lot of alternatives to the big platforms in an open source, community driven, more liberty respecting, privacy respecting way all over the internet.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's very important. Anybody listening that thinks, that their YouTube channel is safe, or really anything is safe, if you even go through the Amazon Web Services, that Gab, I think it was, they pulled, or which video platform did they?
Parler was the one.
Yeah, I mean, Parler was growing. All of a sudden, boom, they just yanked it out from under them. So, I mean, it just tells you the importance of owning your own data. Because I remember one day you said, you turned around in a meeting and you showed me the servers behind you, and you said, short of them coming in and take these servers, they can't shut us off, shut us down, or anything else. Which is the great thing about Brighteon TV, because that's the same type of thing. So everybody needs to build these in their own kind of communities. And I think we even talked about this, and then at some point linking all of these, having these redundant tie-ins at some point. So we've got to come out from under this beast system and have a system that can't be censored, but yet glorifies God at the exact same time.
Well, building an alternative economy, Gab, Andrew Torba, I look at him as a leader in this space, building an alternative economy. And a big key component of that is owning your data. A second component of that is privacy, or securing the data, having control over it, right? You get to say who sees it and what. If you have stuff on Google Drive and you become a political whatever, like Trump or whomever, they're going to give that to the FBI. They're going to give that to basically anybody who asks for it in the right way, right? And then the third thing is serving the data, being able to get it out there. So being able to be on the internet, being able to share that. Some things, websites, Nextcloud, cryptocurrency, all of these things come into play when we're talking about building a parallel economy and owning your data. Cryptocurrency is a huge aspect of that as well, that we do here. We're getting into it, and we want to provide that for our clients as well.
Yeah, and when I was in the studio there a couple weeks ago, I had the conversation with our producer about cryptocurrency, and I am absolutely 100% ignorant, as well as many others are on cryptocurrency. I saw a show the other night, and they're like, "What's cryptocurrency?" It's something you can't have, and you don't hold it, and you don't possess it, and it's just so distant from what we know about money. Can you talk and start on the entry level? Because, I need it, and probably a lot of other people need to hear, what is cryptocurrency and where do you see this thing going in the future?
Yep. So in 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a paper. That's how it all began, right? In 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a paper. I think I'm saying the right name, but yes, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a paper. It's called the Bitcoin White Paper. This changed the digital world really, forever. It's like a nuclear bomb of an idea, and the idea was a blockchain. Not to get too detailed about it, a blockchain basically mathematically allows for digital property to exist. A blockchain allows for there to be one of a thing digitally. It's a very important idea. It's actually a revolutionary idea. There can be now, if it's on a blockchain, one of that thing verifiable that there is that thing. So, for example, the blockchain might be, I'm going to take a step back real quick. So, what you do own when you have Bitcoin or when you have a cryptocurrency is you have a private key. This key opens the lock in the blockchain. So the blockchain is not owned by any one person. It is not owned. It's kind of the ideal democracy. So not a republic, it's the ideal democracy, right? Everybody voting on everything. So when you go in and you plug in and you open your safety deposit box in the blockchain ledger and you say, oh, look, I have 1 Bitcoin. That's what you own is the key. And then the rest of it is designed mathematically that nobody else can open that except the key owner. So you have ownership of the key to the property that's in the safety deposit box on the blockchain. That's where it's, and then the way you can own that is, I got to pull out my wallet here, but the way you can own that is a hardware wallet. This is a hardware wallet. This is a Trezor, and this is a key. It only exists right here. You have to physically take this from me. I ask that you don't, but you have to physically come and get this to get access to my safety deposit box. That's how it works.
So then, as far as money is concerned, and I see it, Bitcoin and stuff popping up on a lot of other things in cryptocurrency. Now we understand as Christians that where the government's going to end up going with this, you can't buy or sell, and we're already starting to see a lot of that take place. Where do you see that running as far as like a parallel? Because there's going to be the beast system that's not going to allow you to buy or sell unless you get vaccinated or ascribe to their, satanic Luciferian worldview. How do you see what you're talking about here running kind of as a parallel that people can still buy or sell, but not be a part of that beast system?
That's a good question. And the idea is who owns it, right? Who owns that data? If it's a decentralized blockchain, that's sort of the metric that you should look for. So there's lots of blockchains out there. So I'll settle it down to cryptocurrencies. I only do 2 cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Monero. Those are the only 2 cryptocurrencies I buy. Those are the only 2 cryptocurrencies I care about. So from a currency perspective, Bitcoin and Monero. And I lost my train of thought. Ask the question again.
Just about the 2 parallel systems as far as the beast system and our own parallel economy.
Okay. So those 2 coins are there. What the government is going to do most likely is create something called a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. So now we have the people owned blockchains, right? We have the people-owned stuff over here, which is Bitcoin, and it is Monero is another one, and Ethereum and others. These are run in a democratic way, okay? But then we have the central bank digital currency. I don't know how they're going to roll it out, but I know they're talking about it. But they're probably going to sell this as an alternative to Bitcoin or Monero, or to Bitcoin, really, right? And then the central bank digital currency, they will own the key. They will have the key, not you. That's one of the big metrics. They'll have the key, or maybe they'll give you a key, let's say a social security number. They're already doing it. This has been done for 60, 70 years. They've already done it. They give you a key and they own it. They have your social security number, and they're the arbiter of whether that thing allows you to get a bank account, whether that thing, the social security number, allows you to do whatever. This, I own it. They can't stop me without physically intervening. A central bank digital currency, they have the key. They have the door to your safety deposit box. They can add or remove funds. They can add or remove whatever gets linked to a central bank digital currency. Think the deed to your house, perhaps, gets linked, put in that safety deposit box that they have a key to. They don't like your politics for whatever reason. Oh, we're just going to take the deed to your house, and we don't even have to visit you. We can just do it from wherever we are. You know, that's where the social credit score, that's where all that stuff comes into play, you know, on that side. So you look for something where you can own the key, and that you control the doors to the value, and then the network is decentralized, and you can share. I could send you, John Diamond, right now, cash. I could send you Monero right now with nobody telling me whether I can send it or not. There was a $60 million Bitcoin transaction that happened a couple months back. Nobody could stop it. Nobody could stop and say, well, wait, you didn't do the right paperwork. Well, hold on. We need to make sure that this isn't for whatever, drugs or whatever. No, nobody could stop it. That person said, I want to send $60 million to somebody else. And they did. And it couldn't be stopped. That's Bitcoin. Central bank digital currency, what they're probably going to come out with, they would say, nah. We're just going to take all that $60 million because we think you're a terrorist. So that's what Bitcoin, it can be privatized and it can be secure. I won't say Bitcoin, Monero more so. Monero is better for what we're talking about. Being able to transact peer-to-peer, one-on-one, me to you, without interference, without a third party, without a bank telling me, I mean, this has happened to just recently, just 2 weeks ago, I was trying to negotiate a deal with a customer, and we had to move some money around, and we had to use PayPal to do it. It took 2 weeks for that money to move because PayPal said, you're guilty until proven innocent. Prove to me why you own this money, and then we'll let you spend it. It's like, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Whereas with Bitcoin, Monero, these other things, they can't stop it. I can say, no, I want to send this $10,000, this $50,000, this $100,000, this $1 million to whomever. And Monero can do it privately. Bitcoin can do it semi-privately. But I can send it, you can have it, you can verify that it's had. It gets verified by the entire planet that, yes, Jared sent John 1 Bitcoin or 50 Bitcoins. The entire planet using mathematics says, yeah, we agree. That's legit. So now Jared no longer owns that because of math. And now John owns it. It's in John's safety deposit box on the blockchain. Does that answer? I got a little bit detailed there, but.
No. And that's exactly what I needed to hear. Hopefully that's, an introduction to other people who I just got to make them aware that the system exists, and it has to be separate from the government controlled system. Daniel Babinski, yesterday I had him on my show, and later on that afternoon, he had some people on that talked about that if you question the election, you're now being labeled a domestic terrorist just for questioning the election. Well, now they can use their justification to shut down your bank account, arrest you, do all this other stuff. So this is why we have to totally come out of this beast system.
Nick Fuentes had $500,000 frozen He didn't even know why it was. He doesn't know why it was frozen. $500,000 gone in a second.
That's great. Yeah. And we got about 40 seconds left here. We're going to end up having a tech week. And I want to just bring all of you guys on and just give you a segment so we get a whole week of getting this information in. 30 seconds. Tell people how to find you.
You can go to our website, alsatech.com. We have a live chat. We are primarily kind of a business to business relationship or business to ministry. So if you're a business and you're running into trouble or you want to work with us, feel free to reach out to us on chat. My email is heathjs@altatech.com. You can shoot me an email and go to the website to figure out how to spell Altatech. And own your data. Get privacy focused.
Thanks, Jeff. Hey, appreciate Jared having you on the show. We'll have you back again. All right. God bless.
Hello, I'm Dr. Steve Hotze. The Dr. Hotze Report airs every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. Central Time on Brighteon.tv. I'll take you behind the scenes so you can know what's really going on. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you want to prevent yourself from getting an infectious disease, then it seems wise for you to develop a strong, healthy immune system. Wouldn't you agree? I've developed an immune pack with my recommended dosages of vitamins A, B, C, D, zinc, magnesium, and probiotics to support your immune system and to keep you healthy and energized. I've also formulated a teens pack and a kids pack.
Order your Dr. Hotze Immune Pack today at physicianspreferencevitamins.com or call 281-646-1659. Use the code BTV at checkout for a 10% concession.
This is an amazing company that has sponsored both of us, and this is a way to have backup communications when the grid goes down.
Well, the situation became problematic, Mike, with the New Orleans, the latest hurricane, because people panic. And this is one thing that I've learned from being associated with the satellite phone store for over a decade. People will call and order 600 phones at a time.
What?
It's like this, Mike. Anytime there is a crisis, people want these. And ladies and gentlemen, they've created such a good deal for Mike's viewers, my viewers, our combined viewers, that this is the only way you're going to be able to communicate.
And that's the other beauty about these phones, is they can't track you because it's not talking to a cell tower. It's talking to satellites, orbiting over the equator. So SAT123.com, folks.
All right. Welcome back to America Unhinged. We had another guest on, and we're not able to get a hold of him right now. Jeff Brain, he actually owns Clout Hub, which is another social media platform. So if he comes on, we may break in. Otherwise, I may just reschedule because he's got a tremendous platform that is doing exactly what me and Jared have been talking about, coming out from the system, not letting them control us, not letting them censor us. You don't want to be enslaved to anybody. And that's really all this thing is. Everything here is about being enslaved to somebody or to some system. When they tell you, you have to do this, you have to wear a mask, you have to get a vaccination, you have to do that. Nobody's going to control me. And if anybody tries to control me, I will leave that system. I don't care I've left relationships where people would try to control you. All right. Relationships with business, relationships with employers. You're starting to see that, and you're starting to see, this is what I've said for 10 years. Jesus said when he comes, there'll be two groups, and we're seeing the polarization of those two groups. What we need to do is coalesce into the group, the right group, the good group, the free group, not the enslaved group or ones of those are being controlled by some other entity. And there's only two groups. There only has ever been two groups. The one group led by the Spirit of Christ wants people to be free. The other group controlled by the spirit of Antichrist wants to enslave you. And Jesus even talked about that when he said, the kings of this world lord over them. He said, but it will not be with you that you will serve one another. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at in this portion of time that we live, depending on where your end times views are. I guess it doesn't really matter. There's people that agree, with me theologically on the end times. There's people that don't, but we all agree that we want to be free and we do not want to be enslaved. And that's where we need to be focusing most of our energy. So I want to welcome Jared back in. And let's talk a little bit more about cryptocurrency. I guess one of the questions that I had, I know you and I could transact with cryptocurrency because we agree on it. So you give me a service back and forth. How does that apply to like my mortgage or my gas bill or my car payment? I mean, is Toyota going to take it? Will they ever take it? Do we have to come out of that? Just give me a little, I know you're not kind of prophetic, but where do you see all this end up leading with regard to like me paying my mortgage with cryptocurrency?
Well, right. We've got countries that are declaring Bitcoin as a currency. I forget which, a South American country, I think Argentina or one of those, made Bitcoin an official currency. So it's matters of trust. It's, are we going to trust this currency, this thing, as a store of value? I think, depending on legalities, but even still, if enough countries adopt, say, Bitcoin, then yeah, you will be able to buy things in Bitcoin, like your car or a house. You can do that now. I live in Mount Airy, North Carolina, and down the street, so Mayberry. Okay, there's literally cars from 1950, police cars driving down the street. And I can go downtown and there's a sign for real estate for sale and it says, we accept Bitcoin.
Wow.
In Mount Airy. So it's especially good for large transactions that are one-to-one in nature. Because it's like, look, I can give you $200,000 worth of value denominated in Bitcoin. And you don't have to know whether it's counterfeit or not. You don't have to know whether it's legit or not. Its legitness is proven from the entire planet's electrical effort to prove that is Bitcoin is in John's account, and that Bitcoin does move to Jared's account to sell that house. It's just done. It's done on the blockchain. And it is being proved for 10 years so far. So yes, things even right now can be bought in cryptocurrency. The easiest thing to buy, I find, and maybe now the IRS is going to come after me, but is labor. So you make one-on-one deals with people for services, and that's a decent way to move crypto, to use it in your daily life. So my employees, I pay a percentage of their fees to me. I pay a percentage of their salaries, 5%, in cryptocurrency. So I pay them either cash or whatever, give them the 1099, do all that stuff, and then I give them an additional that 5% of it. We've agreed just so that we can start learning how this works in a business context. And I'm going to be going to my accountants and saying, how the hell does this work? But that's it, 5% in crypto. So, right, it's like, okay, here's your cash. Give me the Bitcoin address. Here's the Bitcoin for your week's work. That's how we do it now. So.
Yeah,
yes.
and I know, I've talked to a lot of people who are prepping and just do a whole lot of things, and they talk about a barter system. And a barter system has been around for as long as man has been around. But, I live on a dairy farm. So, if I have 5 gallons of milk and somebody needs milk, they can come over and fix my gutters or whatever. And I'll give you, there's that trade-off. Do you see the same thing happening kind of with Bitcoin? Because not everybody has something that they can give. They don't have a cow. They don't have vegetables. They don't have something tangible to give somebody in return for something. Do you think that can kind of help in that area?
I think yes, it can help. but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
This is not financial advice, even though it is kind of financial advice, right? I've got a pantry at home. I've got canned food. I'm preparing in the various ways for outages of various things. I've got extra gasoline. I've got generators. You do need to, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Especially don't put all your eggs in the US dollar basket.
Right.
The US dollar is going to be worthless.
Correct.
It's going to be worthless because of inflation. So just to let you know, that is happening, and it's been happening since 2008 and before 2008. But yeah, the barter system is still awesome. And then, I mean, you could send messages, encrypted messages on the Bitcoin blockchain. So maybe you need to send a message to, hey, I've got a cow to trade for your horse, and you can send it encrypted using the Bitcoin blockchain. So there's privately, so the government can't steal 40% of your cow or whatever. Right. But yeah, barter is great. I think barter is great when it's appropriate, and then for other areas, Bitcoin is great. And Monero is better, but yeah.
So let me ask something here, and you brought up the word inflation. So I don't know how inflation may affect a the blockchain. I'll just give the viewers an example. And I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 12 years old. All right. Now, when I got saved at 27, the Lord delivered me from that. So when I was buying cigarettes at 12 years old, it was 65 cents a pack. I quit. It was $2 a pack. Now I drive down the road and I haven't bought cigarettes in 30 years. It's like $7, $8 a pack. So you can see the inflation of how much would inflation affect cryptocurrency at all? Or is that just part of the economics or it would not?
So this is why I do Bitcoin and Monero, and no, because Bitcoin has a static amount. There's going to be about 25 million Bitcoin ever. There will never be more than that. It's set in the code, right? There's not going to be more than 25 million Bitcoin. So it is more like gold, although we still dig gold out of the ground. So the actual gold supply is going up a little bit. Now, Monero, on the other hand, so I keep bringing that up, it's a privacy coin. So Monero has a lot of privacy features that basically prevent a social credit score from being formed, because even a social credit score can be formed around the Bitcoin blockchain. So you need to be careful more careful with Bitcoin than with other privacy coins. But Monero has it's called an asymptotic, I think, inflation rate. So it goes up, but it never hits the top. So it's an effectively real world zero inflation. So both Bitcoin and Monero have a zero inflation rate. Other things will go up in value in relation to Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin price in dollars is 60,000. You have to switch your thinking to think about Bitcoins itself, right? So I won't get into the weeds on that. So the answer to the question is no, inflation will not affect Bitcoin and Monero. Other cryptocurrencies that don't have a static limit will be affected.
Now,
they may inflate.
And I'm asking questions now based on my ignorance of the subject here. But you said there'd only ever be like 25 million Bitcoin. Could somebody like Bill Gates come in and just say, I'm buying all of it, and then kind of corner the market?
Yeah, and it could happen. I don't know. We would have to get into a lot of probably macroeconomic theory there because individual people own it. Will they sell it to Bill Gates?
Correct.
Now, so I don't know. Yes, that could happen. So yeah, that could happen. There's probably game theory around why that might not happen or why that can't happen. But I'm not sure. It can be bought and it can be held and it can be prevented from being sold. So yeah, it could happen.
And and like I said, the questions I ask are just, I don't even know if I'm asking the right question sometimes, because the one thing that I do know that I've been following for a long time, I mean, you got like 130 people that own everything in the world as it is right now. So they go in and they buy up these small, even I think PureFlix just got bought out by Sony. So Sony's pushing this Antichrist homosexuality, all this nonsense, Marxist theory. And then they go out, and that's what happens. People like, and I'm not saying me or you, but people like us who start off and start a good business and it's all nice, and then they come in and offer you billions of dollars, probably, which is far more worth than the business is, but they're just trying to take the competition out by using money. So that's one thing that I'm always leery of. I know Mike Adams on Brady on TV said he's not selling out to anybody ever for any amount of money. So that secures it. And I think that's what people like you and me and the people that are listening, we have to understand their strategy is going to be to try to buy you out so that they just control everything. And that's that corporate consolidation that we see, happening in the world today.
Well, right, and that this gets into sort of economics more, but that's one of the downsides to capitalism, or what could be, right? It's crony capitalism, or he who controls the capital controls whatever the world, right? It's there was a quote by one of the Rothschilds who said something similar to that. And I heard a statement yesterday. I was on the phone with somebody, and they had said something of a profit-based motive or a value-based motive for a business ownership. I would say Brighteon TV, myself, are value-based. We don't necessarily care about the profit. We don't really do it for the profit. We do it, I do it originally, I do it because it's fun. This is fun. The stuff is cool, And then secondarily, or those might be interchangeable, is because Christians deserve to partake in the internet. That's basically why I do it. Christians, specifically Christians, deserve to have a voice on the internet, and that voice is being infringed upon unjustly, and that's unsatisfactory. That's not okay. And so we all need to, in the parallel economy, we all need to understand that money is not the most important thing, right? In Acts, that people would go to the apostles and they would be like, hey, I sold my house, here's 200 grand or whatever. Hey, I just sold my house, here's the 200 grand, whatever. I just give me some beans or whatever, and then I'm going to go help the poor over here, and I'm going to go. So one of it is we should get used to having less for our soul's sake, having less just for the health of our soul, because hell is real, and we need to, like the beginning of the show, we need to strive for virtue and strive to do what is just. And another side of that is an economic system. So the other side of capitalism is an economic system called distributism, which is, I don't know much about it, but it's a more organic, natural view of economics and the economy. Distributism. G.K. Chesterton and I think J.K. Hayek are leaders in that space. I recommend looking them up in relation to distributism. So for me, what that looks like would be, I really need to set a hard limit on the size of my company and be okay with sacrificing profits and saying, you know what, you're in a different state, or you're in a different town, or you have the capabilities to do what I do. How about this? You start your own business, I'll teach you how to run it. Yeah, you're going to be competition for me. Yeah, probably by the time I'm 60, maybe I'll be broke, homeless, lose my teeth, but hopefully I'll end up in heaven, right? We need to have a more natural view of operating in this world. And part of that is just distributing the wealth, distributing it, but not in unethical ways like the government's going to come and tell you. Private property is real. You do have private property. You do have a right to ownership. You do have a right to give to your children maybe more than what you had. You do have a right to give an inheritance to your children. You have these rights. You have the right to property and privacy. But each of us as individuals needs to realize what our own limits are to pursue virtue. Where does greed come in? Exactly. And as soon as greed starts knocking on the door, we really need to be careful.
Yeah, and you said something I'd never heard before. I kind of understood it, but I think you just kind of labeled it better when you talked about a value-based, whether profit-based, because a lot of these companies, hey, we're just starting this and it's all for profit, it's all for profit. Well, then you're willing to sell your soul because the love of money becomes the root of all evil. But when it's value-based, look, I want to start this business. I want to limit it to 50 employees. I want to make sure them and their family are taken care of. There's profit sharing. We're not trying to grow, because once companies then go public, now they're being controlled by other people and the shareholders and everything else. I think just Wall Street and that whole corporation system just needs to go away. Everything needs to be locally owned. Every business. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that our parents and grandparents didn't have, or at least our grandparents, the 100% medical paid. Their pensions were paid for life because all that money just stayed local and it got, sent out. But now it's not like that anymore, because now our money's all being sent to shareholders, and they care more about the shareholders than the employees. So to get back to that type of economic system is critical. And then you also have to understand, not you, because you understand it, but the people have to understand there are people trying to corner the market. If there's somebody making, wheels, they're going to try to buy out every company that makes wheels, so they control the market, and then they control you, then they control the price. The more spread out everything is, whether it's political power, economic power, the better it is, because power always consolidates. Political power, economic power, and we used to have laws in this country that would break things up, like AT&T. You got a monopoly, we're going to break it up because you have too much power. We don't even have a government that'll do that with these antitrust anymore. We'll just let people get big and dominate the entire market and the world, and nobody stops them anymore.
Well, right, in the late 1800s, I mean, that's the thing. Where we are now isn't entirely brand new either. In the late 1800s, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, they got together and they bought a president. I forget which one it was, but in the late 1890s, they bought a president. Then Theodore Roosevelt came in, and they didn't like that, and he hammered these. He was a big factor in a lot of these antitrust laws and breaking up Standard Oil. And so now, we're 120 years later, 130 years later, and what is the oil today? It's data. It's your data is the oil. And so these companies own all of your oil. They own you, your online version of you. It's a thing. If you're online, it's a thing. So they own all the oil, and that needs to get broken up. The government has a responsibility to do this, to ensure that you have the capability to own your data, so you can do that physically, like the way that we do it, right? Running your own servers, running a server in your house. It's hard, but it's not that hard. Or get local. Have a local data guy like me, who a local web host who doesn't use third-party services, who runs their servers. What we're doing is we're taking back our own property. Okay, we're taking back our property. We're not giving it away for free so that they can run analytics on us and know us better than we know ourselves. I mean, it's terrifying in a way. Apply encryption. Take it back. Use encryption. Be private. Be moderate. Use technology moderately. Anyway, I'm getting off subject a little bit, but that's what we can do, right? We need to start getting it smaller and taking back control of our property, which is our data. Your data is your property.
Yeah, and owning that is perfect. We got about 2.5 minutes left, so I'm going to try to wrap this up, because just an illustration they gave me before, but it's like gold, okay? I have my gold. It's in my house. I control it. I give it to who I want to. I put it out there on like PayPal or something, and now my money has to go through this third party, and if for some reason they don't like me or my politics, they'll the credit system or anything else. So owning your own stuff, and me being able to go to my basement, grab gold and give it to you, and have that transaction not linked to anybody else or dependent on anybody else, is like the best illustration you gave me in our initial conversation.
And getting local. So just get local in general, whether it be barter, gold, silver. I've got gold and silver, right? I mean, I've got canned food, we've got that stuff. That's our solution within the limits of law. That's our solution within the limits of law, what we can do legally to take back what we have ownership of. It's risky. Somebody might break into your house and steal all your stuff. Yeah, that comes with the territory. You can't escape that, right? And we're trying to escape that. We want somebody to take care of us. We want the banks to have manage all the risk and to guarantee that my money will always be there. God never gave us that guarantee. The only guarantee he gave you is that you're going to die. That's the guarantee, right? You're not even guaranteed to get into heaven, you know, unless you're saved, unless you're a Christian, you know, through Christ, you can. But it's like, there's not very many guarantees in this life, and this reality is designed that way. God made it that way for a reason, to save your soul. He made it hard, and we're trying to make it easy, and we're doing it by lying. And we're lying about how God's reality works. So take back your stuff, take the risk. Yeah, it might get stolen, but that might be the best thing for your soul and your eternal life.
Yep, no, that's all great. That got a whole lot more theological than I intended when I asked you to come on the show, and I'm glad it did, because that's the stuff that people need to hear, is how that all ties together. So, Jared, God bless you, my friend. Appreciate you having you on the show, and when we set up our Tech Week, we'll certainly have you back again.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Have a good day.
Hey, everybody, have a good weekend. God bless.